Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Milo, and right behind you is Lexus the Lexus. Today's episode is going to be called What Else Can We Do? What I've decided after going on a couple trips now with the new power system, the new induction cooker, and also having Starlink, we realized that we can go anywhere and watch anything we want on our iPad or whatever. So it got me to thinking, what if I had a TV? So I did some measurements, and this is what I've come up with. 32-inch flat screen, and I want to put it in this square and have it fold out and away so that we can watch TV at camp. I haven't really done much about my Starlink mount, but I made this out of extruded, and it's on a TV stand, and it was okay, but I didn't love it. So I've ordered something different for that. I'm going to have that on just a swivel pipe. I was concerned that the awning opening and the tent would be an obstruction, but I'm going to put it on a single pipe and have it on the correct tilt so that I can just rotate it into view as needed. So my plan is, and I already took this loose, is I'm going to use this mount that I got on Amazon for about 13 bucks. Really small, really light. And I'm going to see about mounting it somewhere to the side of this extruded. And I have about as much space to deal with as this coffee maker, 5 inches or so, that I can have in front of this clearance-wise. The TV's only 3 inches. And I'm hoping that the mechanism will be able to recess slightly into this void where we do spices and stuff. Anyway, I'm going to get busy. So the first thing I'm going to do is get this basic TV frame away from this extruded. And yeah, I spent an hour or two building this extruded frame. And it's cool and all, but honestly, it's no loss, because if you've played with this extruded metal, aluminum, you can take it apart, reuse it. It's so fun to work with and useful. It is literally adult erector sets, and if you guys had those little nuts and bolts and everything as kids like I did, I loved that. I loved that shit. So anyhow, we're about there. So I've got this now. This is what I'm going to attempt to mount onto the side of there, and the TV. So next thing I do, I guess I'm going to unbox that TV and see what we got going on. All right, so the first thing I'm noticing, I haven't taken it out of the box, so I don't know yet, but this thing on its own is going to be dead center of that, which is ideal. The problem is I don't know if it needs to go up or down to be able to recess into this cavity just slightly for the TV. We're about to find out where the TV wants to be mounted on this. So here we go. So I have a Roku that I can use with this thing, Fire Stick. I have a Fire Stick I can use, but it's a smart TV, so in my experience, the smart TVs are not as fluid, I guess you could say, as the Fire Stick, so adding one of them is ideal. I had thought about using a TV monitor, but I'm not sure if they have a remote or if the Fire Stick will learn a monitor. Bunch of questions that I couldn't figure out. So I could have gotten a thinner monitor than a TV, but the weight is about the same, and I have enough space to do it. Okay, looks like my mounting bolts are lower than center. That's probably not great, but let's see. TV weighs nothing. That's great. So, yeah, that's a little low. So, we'll just have to cross that bridge. But my God, we're going to be in style. Like, up a mountain somewhere in the middle of nowhere watching YouTube. I know we're supposed to disconnect, but heck, man, this is going to be cool. Now, how much space does this and that take up? I think we got room. In fact, I'm almost positive. So, worst thing would be to shut this thing the first time and just smash the screen on one of my buttons or something in here. Don't want to do that. I've got to put an insert into this track, a couple of them, and I'll be able to adjust it up and down to get it to the exact spot where I want, because this extruded is awesome. I think I mentioned that already. I've got these little slip-end half-moon looking ones with the little bearing cam that holds them into place. I got to see if they fit in that stuff. I know they fit in my roof rack material, but that might be slightly bigger. No, they don't fit. Okay, so I'm stuck with the original size bolts and whatnot for these, which I think is I want to say that's an M4. So I'm going to have to use 2 of them as long as I can get. Here's a couple of stainless ones that are slightly longer that I can use with a fender washer. I watched a whole program on washers the other night. That's how much of a nerd I am. Like, they've got all these different names and how washers have been around since like the beginning of recorded history, or what they can find. They're finding them in everything. And a washer is more than just a circle. Sometimes they're squares, sometimes they're long tabs. You might see one that's a giant X on the outside of a brick wall, like doing like a tie back type of thing. All right, this is actually going to be super easy. I just got to find a couple of the appropriate washers. Those are going to... The upper part is slotted, so I definitely need a fender washer. The upper mount is slotted, the lower one is not. So it's going to be a pain to keep it from trying to move like this with the weight. But I think if I get it tight enough, it'll be all right. All right, so here's a bigger washer. I can use one of these little itty bitty stainless ones with what looks like a 5/16, a little bit bigger. I gotta pop the little piece out of the bottom here that keeps you from cutting yourself and makes it look pretty, so that I can slide the little nut T-cert or whatever you want to call it up in there. So something that I talked about in my last video was my little fire extinguisher mount, and I got some feedback on Facebook about that. So I might go around and look for some other little kind of cool things that I've done that might interest people, especially with the GX platform. Yeah, that worked. Temporary. All right, but there we go. That is awesome. So when I was looking for the TV, man, I was going down a rabbit hole because I had to have the right size. I wanted to maximize that space, but it still had to fit in here and shut, because right here to here is like all I had. And I hope I did it right. I know it's going to be close. Okay. Not surprised. There are no bolts. But my guess is it's either an M4 or an M6. I found them. They're tiny. But I don't think these are the ones that it came with, and they're maybe a little long, so I got to hunt around. Found it. And there they are. See, these are what I found just randomly, but those are what are going to work because they're just slightly shorter. I don't throw anything away because there's a chance in like 30 years that I'll need it. This just happened to be a week, but here we go. So what I'm dealing with is this height barely goes over this when I close. So I've got just a little bit of room. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get this section here to go right into that little spot just to give me a little more space. Again, I've got as much as that coffee maker is. Let me put a tape on that. So that is pushed up flush. That's like 5. I mean, it is right there with it recessed. I might have to figure out a way to just remove this part. This swivel thing is not necessary. I could potentially gain 3/4 of an inch by removing this little pivoting part, which I don't need. I need the TV to stay straight. And I could make this X brace that fits onto this mount. Gosh, I could make it so this thing goes in there and just have a drop mount or a raised mount, whatever it takes. I'd have to have a drop mount. If I make this drop and then go to these, I can make a plate that'll bolt to this and all of them. That's where we're going. So as I just mentioned, I'm going to get rid of this whole piece here, and I'm going to make my own that allows this mount here to be higher, and all of it will swing into this area. So I'm gonna gain 2 things by doing that. I'm gonna have a more solid, not pivoting mount, and it's gonna take up less space when it's folded up. All right, pretty pleased. This TV weighs nothing. I mean, it feels like nothing. All right, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna move this up to where I really want it. Which is there. Looks like about an 8mm to take the center apart, but I've got Phillips for the quick release. All right, so check this out. It's got to clear that, and look, I'm talking, it's definitely not going to go anywhere in travel. I've got to make this just right. It's another good reason not to have that swivel. because I will lock it in exactly where it needs to be every time it closes. And then put a stripe on it. Let's see. Yep, it's just barely gonna work. All right, good news is I've got about a ½ inch under this, and I'm gonna need it. So what I think I'm gonna do is, in addition to making my own mount to make this where I wanna be, I'm gonna put little feet here that are maybe 3/8 lower, that when I lock it in, it'll set on that, and that will ensure that when I close this, it's where it needs to be. There's a piece right there. Maybe too big, but that's close. There's my part right there. 16th inch aluminum. Hopefully that is not too flexible. The other part is steel. Let's see what else I have. What do we have here? Yep. All right. We're gonna get to cutting on this. So I bought this kit a while back, and this is all little stainless pieces of hardware, and I've used a lot of it up, but I did have a couple of little 90s, and those are going to be perfect right there. It's going to give me that little bit of drop that I'm looking for to clear this. And I'm going to have to put 2 of them in here so that I'll have an exact location for the bottom of this when the TV when it closes up, and it will always clear this. And that will gain me a little bit here, which is what I need. So when you're working with the hardware of the extruded, you've got your T-tracks and stuff, and they typically have to be taken apart and slid in. And what I'm dealing with over here is a channel that I would have to open up, but they have a really neat T part that slides in and rotates once you start to tighten it, and it can be quickly removed. It's what I used up here as well on my cover plate that has my gauges. So if I need to access anything behind that, I've got 5 screws, which takes like about 10 seconds to undo and have this off. If you're getting into this stuff, this is a really good little part, and it goes with the M4 metric thread. All right, I'm gonna put the other one on, and as long as the door will close, then that's the right height. If it's too low, then I'm going to bend them up a little bit. In fact, I might bend them up anyway, and it'll create a little ramp going in and keeping everything unloaded. Those feet are gonna hold the TV. Let's come out. Oh yeah, that's tolerance right there, son. That's exactly what we're looking for. Right on the money. About 1/8 of an inch. All right, get back to measuring from on center. 2.5 inches. 2.5 inches from those upper bolts to the top of the TV bolts. So from this bolt to this bolt, I've got from there to there 2.5. So when I make this, and I'll be able to use this as a reference for the other 2 hole size on our new aluminum plate. We need 2.5 inches above this for those 2 holes. Let's go do that. Oh yeah. Well, you did my buddy Paul.
What are you doing, man?
Well, who doesn't need a TV when you're camping?
It's true.
I mean, I've got Starlink. I've got enough power to kill somebody. So we are adding a 32-inch TV so we can watch YouTube, so we can keep tracks of Flexus the Lexus while we're out in the woods.
I got you.
So I had to make a special mount because I wanted to lose that little rolling twisty thing, and I also it allowed me to bring it up here so this can recess, because I'm dealing with like minimal. I put these little feet here so that when it does close, it locks it where it needs to be, because it's gonna clear this by like a fraction. So yeah. By the way, everyone, if it weren't for this man right here,
cool.
He was on my first video and now he's on my 19th or 20th. But he's my painter around the corner, and Flexus the Lexus wouldn't be possible if it weren't for the use of his shop and lift and painting expertise. Paul, thank you, sir.
Good.
Anyway, Paul needs some lumber. We're going to be back in a few minutes. So here's my plate. I only did 2 bolts, but honestly, I don't think it needs any more. It swivels, it's super strong, and when it goes back into place, it is exactly where I want it to be, which is just above these little guys and tucked up nice and neat. There's only one more thing to do, and that's to try to close the door. So I'm going to put you guys in here, make a little space, and do this ever so slowly. Alright, so first thing I'm noticing is the handle on my little cabinet here could be a problem. And if it is a problem, then we're not going to have a handle on that cabinet anymore. We'll just have a little hole that we pull it. So, here we go. I think I'm going to put you guys like this. That way I can maybe use the footage to see. Alright, so I think this is our little infrared for the... Okay, that's not a problem. We can raise this a hair. But yeah, the little infrared that's on the bottom of this is hitting. So, minor adjustments, and I'll be back. So I bent these brackets just slightly upward. Cleared. All right, I just reviewed the camera and I definitely have got to remove that little handle, which is unfortunate. Maybe I can make a smaller version or something, but I guess I can just make a little hole where I just put my finger through and grab it. But I'd rather have a TV back here than a handle. Henry, move please. I can't stand up straight. There we go. You guys see Henry G Doodle on Instagram? He's going to be famous. He's been to a lot of places around the US and he's camped a bunch. All right, I've cleaned up. It took me a little while to get the TV programmed, but we're done. I'm pretty sure this is the spot. I'm watching one of my favorite YouTube channels, Lexus the Lexus. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out and subscribe. And I recall my gearing so better than that in the past. We can move it out here while we're cooking, or we can rotate it around for company. It swings back into place, clips on the bottom, and I added a bungee to give it a nice snug fit, and she will fold right away. That lifting is from my sagging hinges, but anyway, there you go folks. That's the latest addition to my getaway equipment in the Lexus. Hope you guys have a good day. See you on the next one.